Hi everyone, here's a look at Sebring International in the PM18. The track temp is 97 Fahrenheit, and as this was afternoon kind of fading into more mid-late afternoon, the track temp's been gradually going down, which is sort of useful as you get more grip and more track performance as you go on. It's a bit more difficult if it goes the other way with less track and temp and with more track temp, and less track performance. Now, Sebring's one of those tracks that in basically any car, it's one of the less grippy surfaces. The track itself isn't grippy, it's very bumpy, which tends to push the car offline, and it's usually fairly hot around here. We run a lot of afternoon sessions, so all of those factors come together to make a track that tends to make the car slide and miss apexes and get oversteer on throttle. But it's actually one of the tracks that's very important to hit your apex. So when you first go to approach it, you should approach the track sort of driving under the limit with just making sure you're running on line. And once you've got the car on line, then you can start adding a bit more apex speed, braking distance, being more aggressive on the throttle, and you'll find the time slowly comes to you. Whereas if you're approaching every corner and you're understeering wide and you're getting heaps of oversteer on throttle and the car's just moving all around the place, you're never really going to have the performance. So smooth and accurate to start with, and then slowly ramp up the level of performance you're getting out of the car. Now on corner one, it's very important to get extremely close to this wall. So you're entering from far wide, and you bring the car in, and you're sort of aiming at the wall as you're entering the car, but the car's kind of slowly starting to understeer wide, and you're just taking a bit of turn out of it so you don't clip the wall. The sooner you get the wall, the sooner you can straighten the car out and accelerate out, and you can gain a fair bit of time. So getting quite close to the wall, going well inside that yellow line, then accelerating out, accelerating smoothly. Now coming up here, you're wanting to brake around the 2 cone. Or did I grab it a little bit early? Yeah, braking, in between the 3 and the 2 cone. And again, you're making sure to bring the car as a tight apex through here, because if you're entering too wide, you're going to have to bring the car back to the left, and the next corner is a right-hander. So you hug it tight through here, then you get a good exit into the right-hander. Bringing it right up close to that inside apex. It sort of jigs out a little bit there, so that's about where you want to apex. Just where the corner sort of pokes out here. The front wheel should go in between those 2 lines. And now that gives you the ability to get back on the throttle. Now you're just being a bit soft on the throttle through here because you're not wanting to spin the apex up, but you've still got to drive the car out. There's time to be found in between these 2 little corners. So as hard as you can without the car getting into too much oversteer. Now go right, and it's very important again to get this left apex because it enters you into the whole back straight. So if you run wide, you're going to lose half a second here, just trying to get the car straight and get out of the corner. So you bring it nice and close. Don't clip the curb, as that could bounce it or push the car off the track, but just bring it nice into that apex. Getting a bit of oversteer on acceleration, that's fine. You want to use all of your rear grip, but not too much. If the car is getting too much oversteer, then it's not moving forward. But that little amount didn't cost me anything. I'll do these few corners in full speed just to show. Getting close and accelerating out hard. Okay, now as we're coming in, we're braking around the 3 cone point. And you want to, again, make sure you get this inside apex here. Bring it up on the curb. Now you can trail the braking into here a little bit. If you find you've broke a little bit too late, you're not going to get the car stopped before the corner, just turn the turning point a bit into the braking point so that you're turning. And I've still got a fair bit of braking on because I'm trying to minimize the braking zone, and it's also carrying a fair bit of front weight balance, weight shift to give it a lot of nice front grip into the apex. So got that apex nicely, and once you do, you can start to immediately apply the throttle and accelerate out. The car will, again, not quite grip at the rear. On this track, with the sort of setups we're running here, you're never going to have a lot of grip, so the car will be oversteering quite a bit out of the corners, particularly since you're typically trailing in and trying to bring the weight shift to the front to give it good bite. Not too much. It's not losing acceleration. Now just flat through this corner. Now you're braking after the 3 cones here. It has a little bit of relearning process compared to the old Pro Mazda because you're braking consistently a bit earlier than it. This car carries a bit more speed into the corner. So you're braking around the 3 cones. And you're really wanting to get the front right wheel up in here. If you're going too deep into the corner and you miss this first apex, it's catastrophic because the next corner tightens up. So you've got to bring the car back to the right, then back to the left. This is what I meant in that you're better off just getting the car online initially and then sort of focusing on improving your the apex speed you're carrying. But online is the most important thing. So getting the car, front wheel should go in that gap between the yellow line and the curb. Didn't clip the curb or put the car off, then just nicely accelerating out so I can bring it back to this next left-hander. That's perfect. Full speed. Bit of trail braking in here. I'm still releasing the brake as the car is turning. You find that as you get more used to Sebring, the consistent corner entry is about clipping the apex properly and then accelerating out. It's not one of those corners that you can really load the car up and kind of be offline a little bit. You've really got to be accurate, which is extra tricky because the track's so bumpy. So it's actually quite a difficult track to master. So we're braking here before the 2 marker, getting the car again, yellow line and in between the curb. Accelerating out smoothly. This corner is very prone to giving a lot of oversteer, so I was just a little bit more hesitant on the throttles. I want to get a good drive out because there is a little bit of a mini straight there, and the drive out's important. Bit oversteer, but nothing too much. Now here's a corner you really do get to load the car up. Now, initially on, I was braking quite early and turning in a bit early, but I find here if you turn in too early, it induces understeer into the car. But if you turn in a little bit too late, you don't get the car back left for the next corner, which can really compromise you. So you've just got to slowly work up to the limit. I want to take about a medium apex. So braking just for the 2 marker, but well after the 3, and looking to apex around here, not an early apex at all. Car loaded up nicely, that enables me to accelerate out and still turn into the left-hander. If you run too deep into there, you've got a too narrow line into that left-hander, which compromises you. My apologies. And then it's very important to actually clip this curb here and make sure you get a good exit. This apex is a little bit of a tricky one because it's not the easiest to spot from this angle. The angle's fairly flat and the apex is also flat. So you can just see a little bit of curb, and you've got to load your car's trajectory from a fair way back so it actually gets the apex. And if you carry a bit too much speed, it'll understeer wide, but you really don't want to clip this apex too much. If you turn in a little bit too early and you get it with the front right wheel too much, it'll tend to catch the underside of the car and push it off the track. That can cost you sometimes up to a second. So just got it nicely there. Now up to what is one of my favorite, probably my favorite corner on the track. Now you're not braking on entry, you're full flat on entry. Now I like to take a wider arch around here because you can really load the aero up with quite a wider angle. The second you start to push the car too close to the inside apex of the corner, it's very bumpy and it tends to bump it, which can both induce understeer, but then you get to go on the throttle to exit out of the corner and it induces oversteer, and it can very easily put you in that outside wall. So you want to take a nice wide arch, kind of narrowing towards the apex, but not super close. This area in here is a no-go. You're still staying outside the yellow line. And then widening again after the apex. So although the car can run a bit more line in there, you're not really looking for that. You're just running a nice wide line, which allows the car to load the aero up, sweep around the corner, and then accelerate nicely out. That's a lap. That's a 54.1. Show that last corner again. Just minimal smooth inputs, not overloading the car, braking sort of in the middle of the corner, and opening the corner up again. And that's a lap. I'll do the lap in full speed.